Hello, everyone, and welcome to part 3 of our Arts Integration Professional Development discussions this month with the Georgia DOE Department of Education Community for Music Technology. So we've been able to get together and talk about how to incorporate music technology into the other art classes that are already present at your school. We've been able to discuss how to get music technology flowing within the core classes of your school, and this time we're going to dive into how to infuse music technology within your local community. How do you get music technology to funnel outside of your school and really be an integral part of your school's community? Okay, disclaimer. In these series, we've talked about a lot of different things. I don't want anyone to think that I'm doing all of these things all the time. That is definitely not what I'm doing. If I was doing all these things all the time, I would never have time to do anything else but infuse music technology into different curriculum locations around my school and building. I'd be here day and night doing these different things. These are just different things that have worked at times for my program. So with your program, find one idea out of each of these and see if it works for you this semester. If it doesn't, trash it. It's okay. That I understand that. Some of them are going to fit, some of them are not. Some of them are going to be ideas for you that spark other ideas. And if they do, I hope you put those ideas in the discussions that go along with these videos, because they are important to sharing that and developing this statewide culture of music technology. So before we get into all this, no, I'm not doing all these things currently, but they're ideas that I've had and they do work from time to time. So if you build skills and techniques with your students by collaborating with others inside your school building, then you can develop a sense of trust and a sense of ability in your students, and that they are going to be able to transfer this information outside the walls of your school. So I can't stress enough that before you go diving into some of this community effort stuff, we're going to get our music technology out there in the community. Try some stuff within your building first. Have the kids develop rapport, skills, techniques, trust with you, the teacher, so that you know these things are going to be right and they represent you well when they get out in the community. Many of these ideas stem from ideas that we've already talked about doing things within your school. But now you're just doing them at a different level for being out in the community and representing. So it's just a different spin on some ideas we've already done. So you can have students that work with community events that happen at your school. We have a lot of community events that happen at our school. We have a very large number of students. We have a very large number of those students that want to host specific gatherings and events. So you could think of all sorts of different ways for your students to jump in and be able to run a sound system for a particular event. For example, you might want to DJ a sporting event. And I'm not talking about like football and basketball. Those guys get all the love. They've got professional DJs that come in and do their gigs oftentimes. I'm talking about some of the smaller sporting events that could still use a big boost from the school. Cross country, tennis, wrestling. These guys really want to create that atmosphere of support, and you can do a really good thing. Now you're like, cross country, what in the world? Now there are places on cross country courses oftentimes that the runners will pass like 3, 4, 5 times in a single race. So you can think about like scouting out that spot or the start finish line and being a DJ at those. You can train students to run your school's theater sound system. This for us has turned into actually a paying gig for students. Students that come and get their training with me can be hired by our community school or our after hours school to be able to actually work as an intern / sound guy for these different events that come in and use our theater system. That does multiple things. One, it makes sure that our theater gets used properly and cleaned up properly. And 2, it gets a little bank in the student's pocket at our school, which is always a great thing, and students love making a little bank off the school. I'm just saying. So you could also work to have music that's provided for these events. If community events need some background music, you can supply that or have it created during your music technology class, which can be a lot of fun. Local restaurants. Haven't necessarily tried this, but I'm thinking about trying it very soon. If you visit a local restaurant and you really like the vibe that they're going, and I'm talking more like a mom and pop type restaurant, not necessarily like Olive Garden or Red Lobster or something like that, like a local small restaurant. You could see if they would consider playing music that your students have created at their restaurant. Maybe have a spirit night where they don't do it all the time, but they have like a night where they play your students' music and people come in and eat and have a good time, and that's really cool. You could also have the students collaborate together to create an album of music that fits the style of their restaurant. So maybe you're working with a local Mexican restaurant. You have the students create Latin-inspired music to be played at the restaurant. There you go. That's the cohesive thing, and you can partner together to have this fun night of music and entertainment at the local restaurant. You could open your doors as a recording studio. Okay, so there are some caveats that would have to come with that. You need to think through some practical legal stuff about who owns the recordings and all of that stuff, but I'm sure you can find out that that can be solved rather easily. Just remember, you're doing this from an educational perspective, so you're trying to get the students experience. That's their payment. And the artists that come in should understand that this is a student-created project. It's not necessarily going to be Nashville-produced level, but you are certainly going to give it your best bet and most likely come out with a product better than what they can do at home. So provide the opportunity for your community to come into your classroom and create recordings with your students being the audio engineers. Have them learn how to set up the mics, how to set the gain levels the right way, how to put the performer in the room the right way. Have all these things happen because your students are doing them. And then if you charge for all of this, you'll have to work that out with how your school wants to function with raising the money and stuff that is like that. But hey, even if all you're doing is producing the STEM recordings and not the final product, that is still something that you could get paid for, even if these people are going to take it back to their house and do all the mix engineer side of it themselves. So just play that out with your school and how your school system handles situations like that. But consider making yourself an open recording studio for your community. We talked about doing podcasts with classrooms, core classrooms around the school. This is also a great thing. You can work with your local podcasters. There are podcasters popping up everywhere, and most of them don't have the equipment or a good recording space to go about doing this. So you can provide them the working space, the equipment, and have your studios, your students be able to set up the studio, tear down the studio, do the audio engineering side of the podcast, and even be able to create potentially opening sequences and closing sequences, or the credits of the podcast, having a musical soundbite to lead in, having a soundbite to lead out, and different things like that. So really cool opportunities, as always, working with podcasters and the vast number of products that they are producing right now. So a lot of fun being able to do that. Again, this is another community piece that you have to kind of gauge based on how your community works and how your school functions. But you can lean on local churches. Just know your students and know what difficulties you might have to negotiate up front. But churches are some of the largest users of music technology products on a consistent basis in your community. Most of the time, every Wednesday night and every Sunday morning, they've got some kind of music technology based production that is happening in their building. So you could have students actually work with these people as interns potentially. Again, you have to make sure the students are okay with that and everything's copacetic, but have them work as interns for these weekend gatherings and rehearsals, learning from the house sound engineer and learning how to apply the information that they've learned in your classroom. You can also use the churches as a place to find performers to come into your studio. A lot of times there may be a performer that wants to record their vocals on top of a backing track that they have, or something of that nature. So you can work with that vocalist to get a very high quality audio recording for them of them singing with that backing track, or maybe bring in some basic acoustic musicians from the church that are wanting to create a track together, something like that. Great place to find people that want to record, and most of the time that would be school appropriate music. Again, just negotiate the difficulties with the right students and how your school would handle situations like that. And that is how I can get my music technology program out into the community. I hope some of those ideas spark different things for you and begin to get the ball rolling on some new ways that you can integrate your music technology classroom into your local community. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos and join me for our discussions on arts integration as part of our arts department, as part of our whole school, and as part of our local community. So hope you found some of this helpful, and I hope you can put some of your ideas down in the discussions that we have on the Georgia Department of Education Community for Music Technology. Have a great day, everyone.